Wonderful to have you with us today. I've got a pair of tickets for Franz Ferdinand up for grabs. If you fancy going along to the Coca-Cola Arena, 13th of December, all of the classics that you will know very well, but also some new sounds. They've got an album out. Latest album is called The Human Fear. Tickets selling really fast. They're available from Coca-Cola Arena and Live Nation, but I do have two to give away today. And if you want to be in the draw, just get this question right. Where's the band from? Is it Scotland or is it Ireland? Hopefully an easy one this Thursday. Is Franz Ferdinand from Scotland or Ireland? You can text me that answer and please include your name on 4001 on the app or the WhatsApp, or picking a winner just before the end of the show.
This is Eye on Education on Dubai Eye 103.8.
Sponsored by Repton School Al Barsha. Exemplary British education for ages 3 to 18, where ambition is nurtured and potential is unlocked.
We are, of course, marking National Day. I think many a child has been marching into school wearing their flag colours. I've seen a lot of T-shirts knocking around because schools across the country are celebrating culture, identity, and the sense of belonging that our communities and kind of how it all ties together. Now, Horizon English School, those celebrations go far beyond the flags and the festivities. There's diversity months, there's International Day, and there's an ongoing conversation about identity and diversity all the way through the year and the curriculum. One teacher who's so passionate about this is Maddison Lewis, extended leader, class teacher at Horizon English School. And we're talking about how cultural learning shapes confident and connected young people, even when there are dozens of nationalities in the classroom. How are you, Maddison?
I'm very good, thank you. Thank you for having me back.
It's a pleasure. Now, tell us what was happening at school today, because it's not just about wearing a flag T-shirt or, having a date as you walk through the gate. What was happening at Horizon English on the field, in the classroom, and the bigger picture of the meaning behind that?
Yeah, it was a gorgeous day. It always is. And it's run by a lot of our Emirati parents. Our Arabic and Islamic teachers all get involved alongside our leaders and class teachers. So it really is a whole sort of community event that all of the school comes together to celebrate. We have all of the the traditional elements of the culture, the food, the music, the dancing, the artwork. We have the falcons and the camels that come in, but the children really get to understand the meaning behind what it is to be a part of Dubai, and the culture and the UAE, and they understand the meaning behind the colours of the flag, and it kind of coincides with our ethos as a school anyway. We talk lots about tolerance, and that ties in then when we are looking at National Day and we're celebrating that element of the Emirati culture. So it's a gorgeous celebration of why we love this country so much, and a chance for those Emirati children to really show with pride why their country is so incredible and what it means to them.
And what's lovely is the majority of children at the school will be expat, and some of them might have been born here. Some of them might have just started, the new term after moving here in the summer. And I think it is so important to kind of foster that sense of belonging, no matter where your passport is from. And you used the word pride there, and that can carry through about why we choose to live in a country, what makes somewhere special. My kids have got T-shirts that say, so I think it's like 50% English, 25% Scottish, 25% Irish, and 100% made in the UAE. And we always talk about it's this tired term of Dubai being a melting pot, but I do think these days are such opportunities to lean into the ingredients that go into that pot, and National Day, of course, being an amazing part of it. But when we think about cultural learning on an ongoing basis in the classroom, tell us a little bit about what that can look like. As I said, we can have classrooms that can have 10, 20 different nationalities. How do you kind of get that balance right? And maybe Diversity Month is a good way of talking about that, Maddison.
Yeah. So, for us at Horizon English School, it is an integral part of our curriculum, and a lot of the work we do with our leaders and our teachers is around our curriculum has to be relevant and representative of the children that are in our school. And obviously our school we use that like a catchphrase of melting pot. We have so many different nationalities, and what we really want to foster at Horizon is that you have that pride in your culture and your heritage, and equally when you are in those lessons and within the curriculum you feel represented and seen from the text choices we use, from the writing units that we delve into. Like, there is a big sense of everybody is represented within our curriculum, and it's very tricky when you're a British national curriculum school. A lot of the traditional units that are taught in the UK are things like the Great Fire of London and World War II from a very British perspective. And so the incredible thing about being in the UAE and our school in particular is that we don't stick to those topics. Diversity Month is a great example. I know you will have seen it year on year on year with your girls. We want all of our children to have the opportunity to share where they are from and important parts of history for their home countries. And that is something that we're so passionate about celebrating, because it creates that empathy and understanding and curiosity of, well, I didn't know that you were from Iceland. Tell me more. Like, we want that in our children.
And it fosters a sense of celebration and just, to my mind, just empathy and understanding. And that could be when Ramadan comes along and children are fasting for the first time and everyone in that classroom knows why. They understand the cultural and religious significance of that. When it's Diwali, when it could be, as you mentioned, Iceland, whether it's someone bringing in a food and it's not this idea of like, oh, that's different or it's unfamiliar, it becomes a talking point, an opportunity to learn and understand. And I think I reflect on this a lot about our choice to raise kids here. And, I know Christmas is coming and a lot of parents are feeling this kind of pull of grandparents and home countries and our own torn sense of identity and belonging. And I miss my parents endlessly. And the kids, really romanticize the UK. They're like, oh, it would be great to live there. And I'm like, you don't know what it's like to live there. When you go back, you're on holiday. But while there are sacrifices about being here, the gift and the comfort that I take is what an opportunity for our kids. And I know you're a mum as well, Maddison. Our kids to grow up in an environment where they are being not even just exposed, but just surrounded naturally by so many different nationalities. And I think about like a slither of the friends the girls have that they would never have the opportunity to meet back home, where you've got Greek, Belgian, Italian, French, Bangladeshi, Emirati, Indian, it's just, and that's just literally off the top of my head. Whereas where we're from in the UK, there is a different sense of belonging.
Absolutely. And I think, we talk about tolerance on National Day and the importance of it, but actually I've spoken with our oldest children, year 6, about how incredibly lucky they are and that they don't understand that for them to have this mix of nationalities that's normal. Whereas coming from, I taught in a very white working class area outside of London, and the children here, that when I used to talk to them about it, they just couldn't understand, like, what do you mean people, would make fun of their lunch boxes? And I said, yeah, guys, because that was, the minority. Everybody else was the same. And anything out of the ordinary, there isn't that level of tolerance and empathy and curiosity. And I said, you're just so lucky, guys, to live here, because you look at everyone the same and you don't see any differences and you're curious and you're accepting.
And if there is something that is a perceived difference, then it is dealt with and talked about in a very natural and neutral way. There's a curiosity about it rather than a fear. And I think ultimately when we think about prejudice and racism, it comes from fear of difference. And it's our responsibility as parents, but also as teachers, to think about exactly that. How lucky to be curious, how lucky to be surrounded by difference. And I think we do have these days, but it is a choice of a school to weave it into the curriculum, because it'd be very easy for you to go, right, we're going to stick to this and we're going to read little books about, Johnny and Mary.
Well done.
And don't get me, there are some elements I'm like, I like this particular author or this particular aspect, but it is a choice to turn towards that trickier path that means more people feel like that they are included in that conversation.
We talk a lot about, representation in your curriculum in Dubai is non-negotiable. Every child should be able to pick up a book or be part of a learning topic and feel like, oh, I'm from Pakistan as well. So they can have that connection. Everyone's entitled to that. And I think we've come on a long journey in education looking at it isn't a one-size-fits-all, and how awful must it be to be that 8-year-old reading a book, not feeling any connection to it, or learning about history that's got no relevance to you or where you're from or your culture. We are so passionate at Horizon about making sure that every child feels like this is my curriculum, I'm seen, I belong here in this school, because everybody wants, to share where they're from, and we're all accepting of it. And we've got some incredible book and text choices that the children read that really dig into those themes. And it's just gorgeous to see the kids being like, but why is everyone, like in the books, why are they looking at him? And I'm like, because I know you can't understand it because you're incredible human beings that have been raised somewhere where we're so lucky that this is the norm. But do you know what? That's not the picture everywhere.
And it's not, it hasn't historically hasn't been the picture either. And that makes me really sad to think about people in their like 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s who grew up reading books that they couldn't relate to at all. So what a way we have come. But as I said, it is a choice as a school to be celebrating diversity. Maddison Lewis is with us today, extended leader, class teacher at Horizon English School. We'd love to hear about what's been happening when it comes to your pride. Where are you from? What are some of the combinations in your family, in your classroom? 4001. We're going to talk about where it can lead to tension, though, if children do feel torn between cultures. How can you support a child when they don't really know where they fit? So please do reach out, 4001. It is 16 minutes past 3. We're going to head over now, catch up with Jen and see what's happening on the roads.
Dubai Eye 103.8 traffic.
Sponsored by Yas Island, Abu Dhabi. Stay at iconic hotels and play at record-breaking theme parks. Book now on yasisland.com.
Now, Jen, we nearly ran out of music an hour ago for our traffic report. Oh no.
I think I'll have to talk faster.
Talk fast.
3 accidents right now on the 311 northbound in close succession. First is just before the junction of the D57 at Al Furjan, and then another 2 before you get as far as JVC. So very close succession. Another on the D57 Elias Street itself in the same area. So that's 4 through that part of town. Please be careful if you're around there. We've got an accident at the junction of Alkill Road and Hessa Street at the moment. One on the northbound carriageway of Sheikh Zayed Road through Barsha. Another on Sukim Street just before you get to the Sheikh Zayed Road junction. And one on Alkill Road just at the top of Sukim Street as well. So all of that area looking a bit iffy. Very heavy congestion, more or less through the length of the Alkill and the Sheikh Zayed Road. Another accident southbound Alkill at D3 and northbound on Sheikh Zayed Road around downtown. Another on the Sheikh Zayed Road around Healthcare City. And then we've got 2 in front of DXB at the moment, one on the D62, one on the D83. The 311, most of those earlier accidents have cleared, but we still have one through Sharjah's safe zone and traffic in both directions. Same story on the E11. We've got one accident on the northbound carriageway in Sharjah city centre, congestion in both directions. And over on the 611, we're down to 3 accidents now through Sharjah, all of them causing congestion as well. So that's all 3 highways between the Northern Emirates and Dubai currently have accidents on them. Please, please, please drive carefully, leave a safe stopping distance. And if you're messaging us to say that we've missed anything on 4001, stop the car before you do so. Thank you.
This is Dubai Eye 103.8.
Just a little heads up, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m, you've got a brand new starting up. That is with the Virtue's Own chairman, Neil Petch, and our very own Tom Urquhart. We're not calling it a boomerang. We're talking about it being a masterclass in leaving the UAE, learning, building better, and coming back stronger the second time around. We're going to be hearing from people who've done just that, including Jason Levy of Prime Performance Labs. Our returning founder, Nikki Way, back in Dubai to launch his new pizza business, which I have tried, and it is excellent. So don't miss that. That's tomorrow morning from 10, starting up right here.
This is Afternoons with Helen Farmer on Dubai Eye 103.8.
Sponsored.
Hope you're well, having a fantastic afternoon. Little flash forward to tomorrow. It is Friday, so we're talking food and fun and things for the weekend. Going to be in conversation with some amazing chefs and restaurateurs. Also give you some ideas about things to do over the weekends. That is tomorrow from 1 o'clock.
This is Eye on Education on Dubai Eye 103.8.
Sponsored by Repton School Al Barsha. Exemplary British education for ages 3 to 18, where ambition is nurtured and potential is unlocked.
I was earlier today wearing my UA flag sash because we had a big celebration here in the studio with amazing food and music, and actually it was just a lovely opportunity for everyone to have a bit of time away from our desks. And that's actually been kind of the case for many schools this last week. This idea of celebrating National Day and leaning into the pride of the UAE, some of the symbols, some of the history. And it is more than a celebration than, a day on the calendar. It is a chance for kids to explore the cultural identity, but a sense of belonging, even in a country where they weren't born. And Horizon English School, these ideas are actually really woven into the classroom every day. Maddison Lewis has been joining us to talk about how the school helps pupils understand and respect their roots, respect others, feel proud of the community that they are part of. And I wondered if you wouldn't mind telling us if there has been a moment, Maddison, when you've seen a child feel really represented at school, maybe why that one in particular has kind of stayed with you.
I think when I was teaching in year 4, I have a particular moment and I spoke about it actually in assembly when we were launching Diversity Month, and the particular child is now in year 6. And the pair of us across the hall from each other were looking at each other, and she started crying, and I was like, oh my gosh, I still remember it, because it was just the pure joy of a child feeling like, wow, that's like me. And we were looking at diversity in superheroes, and we were talking a lot about how Marvel are doing a lot now to try and make sure that the representation is there. And I showed them a trailer for Miss Marvel, and this little girl, when I'd finished, turned around and she was like, Miss Lewis, I think that she's Muslim. And I was like, yeah, she is Muslim. And she's like, but I think she's also from Pakistan, and I'm from Pakistan, and I'm Muslim too, and she's exactly like me. And I can still vividly see her face. And then when we spoke about it in assembly this year, when we were launching it, I could see her across the hall, and I thought, I will never forget that moment, because I could just see how much it meant to her to see someone on screen and us to be having a discussion around, like, you know, what it means to be Muslim, what it means to be from Pakistan, and her make that connection. That every child deserves that moment. And we, you know, our Diversity Month theme is always "This is me," and we always want children, you know, our younger children create the books that like the Little People Big Dreams books about themselves, and it's the Little People Big Dream about me.
My daughter did that last year.
Yeah.
And it was brilliant because, well, first of all, they drew themselves, which I think that's just a lovely, you know, touch on the cover. And then it was about really celebrating passions and talents and what they want to be in the future. So my then 7-year-old's saying she wants to be a footballer, a singer, a business owner and a shopkeeper. And I'm like, yeah, why not?
You can do
it. You can juggle 4. Tabitha, go for it. But it can be really confusing, I think, for kids to grow up in this idea of like, well, mum's from here and dad's from here, but I live here and we're speaking this language at school and da-da-da. And it can, and maybe not tensions, but I think confusion is probably the right word. And I keep on thinking, and I think about this a lot. My mum taught in Muscat, in one of the British schools there. And they had a little kid join the classroom, and they all went round and said, you know, my name is so-and-so and I'm from so-and-so. And one of the little boys put his hand up and said, you know, Mrs. Spearman, I don't know where I'm from. Not in an upset way, but just like a kind of, I don't know. And they were 4 or 5. And one of the other kids went, where you go on holiday, that's where you're from. It's kind of funny because it's kind of true. But I wondered, you know, how do you support a child if they don't know where they so-called fit?
I think a lot of what we encouraged, and I know I keep mentioning our Diversity Month, is just because it's literally just finished sort of a few weeks ago, is when we send out those projects, we always talk to the parents first and encourage them to have those conversations because, you know, I've got a mixed heritage. My granddad was Chinese Jamaican, and I can remember talking with my mum and being like, but I don't understand. I'm British. I've got a British passport. So what do you mean? And I think as parents, it is confusing to be born here, but mum's from here and dad's from here. And sometimes different parts of your heritage take more importance, you know, or more weight in. And I think we have to be able to have those conversations with our children and be like, well, let me tell you. And I mean, for me, my granddad died when I was very young, so I actually didn't know a lot about him until I was like, actually, Mum, can you tell me? And she was like, well, I don't know because, you know, I can't remember. And it's you have to explore those aspects of your family tree with your children and have those conversations. And sometimes they can be difficult. You know, when we had those conversations with parents about our projects, we said, this is an amazing opportunity for you to really share with your children where you are from and what is important about where you're from and what do we love and what are we proud of. Like, I would want my children to be really proud of the fact that they grew up in such an incredible country, and I would want them to, you know, my husband's got Welsh heritage, so I would want them to understand what that means and what that's important. And, you know, the same for my heritage and my grandparents. I want that for them because we should be proud of all the things that make us so different from each other, particularly here.
I agree. And what a perfect time to be having this conversation as people might be travelling to the holidays and spending time with grandparents or family coming over here. Because, like you say, I have the same regrets about my grandparents. I wish that it hadn't been so much about us as kids. It'd be more about them, about hearing their stories and the recipes and descriptions and looking at photos together. So I guess we're going to set some homework for the holidays, guys. If you are lucky enough to be spending some time with family, to have those lovely open-ended conversations, to give the grandparents space to tell their stories, because
or even just to open up conversation with your children in the car journey home, if you're listening now, afterwards, to be like, do you know where we're from? Like, do you know what it means that you are from India or Pakistan? Do you know what are the things we're proud of? Like, that's what we need to make sure we're still instilling in our children, is they're proud of where they come from and they want to share it with people, you know?
Thank you so much. As I said, it's such a choice, because it's very easy to exist in a very, insular, everyone looks like me, everyone talks like me environment. Even in Dubai, I've got friends who do. I did a food tour recently, and there were people. They were like, I live in the marina. I don't leave the marina. I'm like, listen, just break out of that box. Have conversations with people. You can learn from everybody you meet, and I think our kids are such an amazing example of that. But as I said, as a school, it is a real choice to open those kids' eyes, to open up the curriculum, and celebrate absolutely everybody in the classroom. So thank you. Maddison Lewis, always an absolute pleasure. We're going to be hearing, actually, from a student next.
Your ARN News.
UAE has pledged